Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I'm your host, Harvey Freed. We got a great panel, none other than Harry Glanz.
Good morning, Harvey. How's everybody doing today? And Harvey, guess what? Still home buying season, wrapping up the month this week, but it's been a crazy and wonderful August.
Good morning, Harry. You're off and ready to go for sure. We're going to talk all about that and a whole lot more. Mike Sher joins us from Broock, the Birmingham office in all Southeast Michigan. I don't know. Are you even at Birmingham? Where are you?
Bloomfield.
Birmingham, but
Bloomfield,
Royal Oak. Listen, I have car will travel.
I like that. Actually, I said to you, Mike, before, you're all five counties for sure. Anywhere in Michigan, we got people buying vacation homes. We're going to talk about that a little bit too.
Yeah, a lot of clients who, listen, during COVID, they decided that no one's going to Florida at the time. Let's go buy something up north. And I have a huge network of. I've met a lot of realtors up in middle northern Michigan who help out my clients. It's been a great opportunity to network among us realtors, and in this experience, especially with Zoom and so forth, we're able to connect up with people. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. This pandemic has brought on some nuances in our industry here, and one of the things is people can live remotely, people can work remotely, even in our industry. You can get a mortgage done with us remotely.
Listen, we've been letting people work remotely for a long time. I remember back in the mid 90s. When we had somebody that wanted to work out of town and she moved to Florida and we let her work in Florida and we were sending FedEx packages daily to her. However it is, you got to do what you got to do business. And like Mike said, wherever business is, we're going to go, we're going to serve our client. We're going to make sure everybody's taken care of. But most importantly, we're going to set everybody up for success and give them good advice. And sometimes good advice is something they don't want to hear.
That's for sure. Here, we actually had a younger buyer actually tell me this week, and I was conversing with Mike about this, saying, hey, I'm maybe looking at my first house here, maybe just for the next year or two. And I said, I don't know about that strategy so much. I'd like to see sometimes, Mike, we have to figure out what their goals and needs are, right? Are you going to be getting married? Do you want a family? What's going on in someone's case? Sometimes they need some guidance.
So, I think this is a big investment. And I always tell my clients, you're not just buying into a house. You're buying into a community. You're buying into a school district. You're buying into a city. Listen, when you invest in stocks, you go and you check out the stocks. You check out Ford. You check out what the newest line is, the new cars, and so forth. When you're going and buy a house, you should go in. You should check out. Look what the taxes look like. Look what the school district looks like. Go in and meet your neighbors. Drive around the blocks. You're investing. You're buying a piece of Birmingham, Royal Oak, Hazel Park, where you're going. So it's really important to understand what you're doing and make your own educated opinions on it. Ask lots of questions, but you're the person who's writing the check every month to the mortgage company. So it's your purchase. So be smart about it.
It's been generally 3 to 5 years that it would take to stay in the house, really to recoup some costs that are involved in a transaction. Of course, the pandemic has brought on these ultra low interest rates and a frenzy of overpaying for the houses due to the lack of inventory. So, again, that 3 to 5 years really still comes into play, not 2 to 4 years, maybe 3 to 5 years, but you don't know. We don't know where this inventory is going to shake out here. And we see a little bit of relief. Let's go into that a little bit. Southeast Michigan, here we are, sort of at the end of August. I sort of feel it's like the last quarter of the year. We're getting into that last stretch, 4 months. And then, of course, it's the New Year's. Is any new inventory hitting the marketplace?
So we're getting more inventory. And also, what you have two segments of the market. You have those really nice houses that will go in and they sell in 5 seconds for way above asking.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have what I consider are what I call ugly properties, but ugly properties are fine because generally it's different between a house being ugly or a house being neglected. You don't want a neglected house. You want an ugly house. Listen, I mean, 20 years ago when I met my wife, I wasn't the prettiest guy in the world, but she looked at me and says, you know what? This guy hasn't been neglected. I can make him work. I can buy him new clothes. I can make him look better. Same thing with a house. Who cares if the paint job is bad? Who cares about those things? Is the furnace new? Is the roof new? Because you're not going to recoup those costs if you're the one who has to pay for it.
Harry, she had good insight here. This guy's got some good bones, but again, looking at a house, same type of thing here. If you got good bones to work with, you might be able to change that ugly house and make it work for you in today's competitive market.
Well, I think that's true. And I think my wife did the same thing. She kind of looked at me and said, well, he might be pretty, but, he's got a lot of potential as well. But that's true. When you go into a house, if it's got that green shag carpeting and that the orange walls, but, that's kind of cool, groovy, and hip now, Harvey, you could always replace that. You could always repaint. If it needs cosmetic work, you know what? As a buyer, that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the nicest house on the block. I'm looking for a house that I could put my touches into. And as Mike said, it might be ugly to some, but it's going to be pretty to me. So I'm going to take advantage of it.
Yeah, these first-time home buyers out there definitely have their hands full trying to get a great house. And sometimes, right, just a little bit of education behind them. Boy, if you're a handyman, if you're dating a handy girl, it's going to work out to your benefit. This inventory has absolutely been low. So there's no doubt that the competition is high. You got to be prepared for it. We talk often about the multiple offers, making sure that you really do have a plan. But we're still getting those phone calls. I get them at the office all the time. Hey, Harvey, I listen to your show and I need a pre-approval. I got to make an offer today. And so I'm missing that. Anyone out there listening, your friends, family, get in front of that mortgage lender a lot faster. Mike, we see it with self-employed borrowers. They need to get in front of us so we can review the data and really get a strong approval letter. That confidence when you go to your real estate agent and say, hey, make that offer. I'm good with $10,000 over. I want to know that deal is going to close in 30 days.
I think you're absolutely right. I think a lot of buyers have this idea where they go on Zillow, they find a house, they press a button, and all of a sudden they have a meeting to go to meet some realtor. They have no idea who they are. And now they're working backwards. You need to work forward. What is your budget? What are your expectations? Listen to me, surprises are great for horror films and for birthdays, but surprises are not good after closing. We want to eliminate the surprises, what your payments can be, what your taxes are going to be, what you can afford, what school district it is. Because you're investing in something that is going to grow in value if you buy it right, compared to that could go in value if you buy it wrong.
Yeah, we see that too. There could be 2 high schools in many cities across the United States, and here in Michigan, nonetheless, there might be even 3 high schools in some of the cities. So you want to know what you might be feeding into and different reasons why that house is going to work for you. But if you're just clicking a button at the last minute, you are working backwards. And I like that. You said you never listened to the show before. That's our line, the surprise party. Surprise parties aren't good, Harry Glanz. When you're buying a house, obtaining a mortgage, you got to put your plan and your group together, your whole team.
Yeah, and it's all about disclosure up front, Harvey. We don't like surprises, and that's why when purchase agreements come in and they have, inspection contingencies, appraisal contingencies, everything's got to be written out. If Mike and I had a surprise, we had a surprise at the closing table. A special assessment came up, and it was a surprise to everybody. But Mike took care of it at the closing. Yeah, it was a surprise, but Mike is an experienced agent. We were working with maybe an inexperienced agent, but Mike took care of it. We don't like surprises. Surprises are no good in a purchase transaction, especially at a closing.
Well, you know what? We got a little bit of time left in this segment. We're going to be talking about that in our next segment and all about mortgages and real estate. Give us a call at 248-539-9797. We take your calls here live in the studio, of course. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE. We are in Crain's Magazine for the coolest place to work. Again, 2021 gives us another plaque on the wall. And if you want to call us at Capital Mortgage Funding and join our team, we are looking at experienced loan officers. So definitely, if you have experience, you can call us at Capital Mortgage Funding. If you don't have experience, I don't know. Here we might train you, but we'll get to that another day. And again, we take all your calls here in the morning at 248-539-9797. Let's sort of segue just a minute before we go into that. We got a lot of new people in the business. There are things that pop up. There might be something at the closing table. You find out all of a sudden there's an assessment, a condominium assessment. Weird things do pop up sometimes where they haven't been addressed. But at cooler minds or at a closing, Mike, they can figure it all out and make it a smooth transaction, even at the last minute.
So that's why you hire a professional. And I remember in the transaction that Harry was talking about, my client just kind of sat there, understandably dumbfounded. And my job is to go in and to protect them. That's what you hired me for. I'm the second parachute when you jump out of the plane. And if that first parachute doesn't work, your realtor's job is to go and make sure that second parachute opens up and goes and protects you. And that was simple.
Yeah, the great thing was, Harvey, and Mike, was the sellers were really cool about it. Couldn't have been nicer. Couldn't have been better people. Lovely people. They were great about it. And Mike saved the day. So it was a great experience for everybody.
Well, that segues us. When we come back after the break, we're talking about win-win situations, buyers and sellers. Everyone's got to come away happy. When we come back, 248-539-9797.
Hi, Harry Glanz and Dan Burke from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
Samuelson studio. How about those Tigers last night? Who in the Lions? That's only preseason stuff. We'll keep it here because we got Tiger baseball coming up later this evening. Jim and Dan with the call about 5:50 or so. After us, of course, Pat Caputo, Jim Costa filling in the way, and a lot of great Tiger baseball. Still, you say what you want. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs or not, but a lot of fun Tiger baseball. That's good enough for us here this year. Next year, maybe some other things we can look at. But we're going to give you up till 10 o'clock, the Mortgage Real Estate Show. And of course, we got Mike Sher in the studio here. We are brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. Mike Sher's with Max Broock Realtor, all over Southeast Michigan. Max Broock, I don't know what offers you. And like you said, have car will go anywhere and take care of his clients. Even last night, Mike, you started going like old school with me, and you're like, Harvey, I was working all day yesterday. You took your kid up to Michigan State. I love it. Last week was great. A lot of families doing that here locally. We got some great colleges in Michigan. I'm like one of these crazy Michigan guys. Guys are out there today, Mike. They're playing their golf. They're out there boating. They're doing their thing. They're on their bike rides. Everyone's a biker nowadays, right? So really, Michigan's a great place, and you get some great colleges here. Tell me a little bit about your experience yesterday. Just to get the feel like as a dad here, you raised your kids here. Give me a little bit of that.
So I got to tell you, it was a great experience for me. My daughter, who of course we live in Birmingham, she's a great, childhood, and moved her into Michigan State in a 4-person dormitory, and it was a little bit of realization. This is 4 people, and 3 of them we never met before. They're kind of cramped in, and she's like, God, I don't know if I'm able to do this. It's so small. And you know what? I remember when I bought my first house, I thought, oh my God, it's so small, and it's this and that, and you realize very quickly we're so adaptable. We are so adaptable if we are forced to adapt. And we hate change. We all get nervous about change.
Right on.
But when you go in and you're in a position, you have 3 people that you've never met in this small little place, you're all sharing one bathroom, all of a sudden you adapt and you learn who these people are. And you know what? It's necessity is the mother of all invention. You're really out there. And I think that some people who go in, they look at the house and say, oh, I can't live there. I mean, you can't live there. You can't live there is a first world problem. Really, people there are dying in Haiti. That's a third world problem. You having to live with a pink bathroom is not a third world problem. It's a first world problem. And you can paint that.
There you go. You can always change it, right? You can get the handyman there. Handy, you see where we're going with this. 248-539-9797. Adaptability, really, when you put your plan together to purchase that house, you might, have to look at some alternatives. Maybe location changes a little bit. Give yourself some flexibility there. Talk to some professional people and find out maybe an alternative plan that could work out just as good for you. 248-539-9797. Harry, do you want to jump in on that conversation? Adaptability. Hey, you're moving your kids into these dormitories. There's not 4 bedrooms. There's 4 beds in a room. A little different.
Well, it's all about perspective. And the same thing when you're going out to buy a house. You got a list and you're checking some boxes. And if you can check most of the boxes that fit your needs and your goals and objectives, then that's what it's all about. It's never going to be a perfect situation, but you could make it your perfect. Let's face it, everybody's not perfect, but if you can make things as perfect as you can make them and control what you can control, check all those boxes off. There is no doubt that for most people, and I say most people, not all people, that buying and owning is better than renting, because everybody always says, listen, I can always make the payment. Well, okay, you can make the payment, but there's other things that come in with making the payment too. There's landscaping, right? There's taxes, there's maintenance, there's that furnace goes out, or what happens when it storms and the windows start to leak. So home ownership still overall for 67% of the people out there is still the best thing on versus renting. But, you got to check all those boxes, and it's about your perspective.
Hey, Mike, home equity is up at all times. These homes are flying off the shelves here. Families that bought 4 or 5 years ago, Mike, your clients, they're loving you. They're calling you up. Some of them are going to segue, take that equity and move into that next house. But again, the home equity is there. And as we're talking about college tuition, so we do see a lot of families. Home ownership gives you that opportunity, maybe to save a little bit of money, maybe to use the equity to send the kids off to college. But we talk about this cost of higher education, the cost of housing. You've got to have a plan. And today's world is a little bit different, but having more smart people with the experience, I think that's the key.
I mean, listen, I think the key is to look at this purchase, not just, everyone says 3 to 5 years, 2 to 4 years, but honestly, look at it as 7 to 9 years. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean you have to do 7 to 9 years, but think of it that way. You have enough room for an expanded family. You don't want to force move. Just like you don't want to be forced to sell a stock. You don't want to be forced to sell a house, because, sometimes stocks go up and stocks go down. Houses go up, houses go down. The overall trend is always up. but you don't want to buy it, when there's a war or when there's a recession. That's not when you want to sell your house. You want to, so when you want to buy a house, this is what we're doing this times, but you don't want to sell when you're being forced to sell. So it's always smart to go and make sure, think ahead, think about those options.
Yeah, Harvey, did you hear what Mike said, Harvey? Did you hear what Mike said? He's the first realtor in a long time that understands the fact that houses do go up and they can come down. It's not always an increasing and appreciation market out there. They do level off. We've seen that in the last 15 years, haven't we? We went through a tough time. But however, is over time, buying a house is generally a long-term play. You got to look at the long term. Take the long view. Don't get caught short-sighted. Plan for the long term.
Got to have a roof over your head, to say the least. 248-539-9797. Take your calls here. It is the Hardcore Mortgage Show. I'm brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. 248-539-9797. Live here in the studio with Mike Sher. Quick little breakdown of getting yourself organized for a mortgage. Again, anyone out there, friends, family, have them call us at Capital Mortgage Funding. Have them get some good advice. Again, if you need to call one or two lenders and find out the difference in the conversation, I think that's a good way to go. Find out what the differences are, because the key here is to get qualified. Mike, again, stay within your wheelhouse. Try to figure your plan out based on your family's needs and wants. Again, we always look at debt to income ratio. We're always urging the self-employed borrowers to get in front of us sooner than later. You're going to require year-to-date profit and loss statements and a little bit more documentation. And then those funds to close. There's so many different ways to get some money, Mike. I'm going to go into it a little bit. Of course, the proceeds from a sold home, that's been the key here in fueling you guys. You guys are taking your clients from, in the last handful of years, and now they're looking to upgrade, and they're taking those proceeds to buy the new house. But you got seller concessions a little bit out there. Liquidation of some funds. A lot of families have some stocks. They've done really well. And you can take money out of your 401k to put a roof over your family's head. Why pay rent and pay someone else's mortgage?
Well, there's no question that there's lots of opportunities. Obviously, there's gift money, which is okay. Which is. I mean, listen, a lot of people have done very well, and there's stocks and so forth. And you'll be able to get something from mom and dad and pay them back when the time is right. And I'll tell you, it's not all about dollars and cents to get an offer accepted. Sometimes you got to look at who the seller is. Listen, if it's a person who's lived their entire life in that house, they raised their kids in the house, and you make it more emotional. You write a little dear seller letter telling who you are, and kind of give them a connection to that. It's not, again, about just making money for some of these people. It's about giving their house to you. It's a very personal thing. So you got to kind of gauge, what you're dealing with. There's about creative ideas, and also keep it simple as a buyer. Don't come in with large demands and asking for this and asking for that. You need to tackle the boulders. The boulders are the big things, not the pebbles. Don't worry about the washer and the dryer. Worry about the right school district, the right location, not being on a major road. Go for those big things, and the rest of the stuff will work its way out.
Had some great transaction closed recently in the jumbo luxury home marketplace, and really interesting. The more expensive one, the house wasn't kept up; it wasn't handed over, swept or clean. A little embarrassing, to be honest with you. A lot of more expensive house. The other family on the other transaction, boy, they left every piece of custom furniture, and the house was left immaculate. And you're right, Mike. It was a sense of pride. One family was all worried about what they were netting from the sale of the house, and they got top dollar for it. It came in at appraised value and everything worked out. The other family was leaving this treasure that they had. They had paintings on the wall, Mike, that they left because they were meant for the house. And they had some class and some design. And again, in that luxury market, you're going to come across sometimes, in any marketplace, there's some class in every market. Again, I've had some first-time home buyers at 120 entry-level homes, 80, 90,000. I wanted to hug the sellers because they presented that house and turned it over the right way.
I mean, when you try selling a house, I tell people it's like a first date. When you have a first date, you want to go in and you want to look good. You want to be dressed up. You're not going to go in and have your hair a mess. You're not going to go and picking your nose. You're not going to do those things. When you are selling your house, you want your house to be perfect. It's a first date. It's so important to have a buyer come in and say, wow, this is the one. Your heart starts pumping. The buyer gets all excited. So make sure that your house has that look, because if it's not, you're not going to get a second date. And it's all about a second date as a seller perspective.
Very glance.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing. I mean, it's aesthetics. I mean, first of all, we're creatures that like to see things, and our first impression is by our sight. I mean, how else are you going to look at something? I mean, so you see it, and if it meets your eye, you're going to like it. But again, once again, I wouldn't get turned off by green carpeting and orange walls, Mike, because you know what? Like you said, you can always go to the hardware store and pick up a can of paint and make it with the same color that you want to make it, right? So I like that, but you have to you don't want to go in a messy house And when we send an appraiser in, we don't want the house to be messy either, because you know what? Appraisers are human beings too. And they're going to want to see it, although they collect data and everything. They don't want to walk into a messy situation either. So I agree with that. I think it's very, very important to keep your house straight.
Mike, just 30 seconds before we go to the next break, though, do you have to dress up these houses? How much marketing has to go in? We're still definitely staging these homes and presenting it. Like you said, we're putting the best product out there.
I'm not here to go and tell you to redo a kitchen or two new bathrooms. The best foot forward. Make the house clean. Make the house, as perfect as that house can be. And that's really the key.
You got your chance now. Clean up your landscape here. We got another month here. If your grass doesn't dry up with this crazy weather. All right, keep it here on 97 on the ticket. You got the Hardcore Mortgage Show, again, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. Call us here live in the studio, 248-539-9797. We'll be back with all your questions.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
Welcome back to the show, 9:30. Let's go. Gorgeous weekend here, August 28, 2021. Thanks for joining us here on the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. I'm Harvey Freed. Harry Glanz, of course, joins us. Mike Sher, Max Broock Realty. And again, we always talk mortgages and real estate. A full day of sports here on 97.1 The Ticket. We got Lions to talk about with Pat Caputo right after, how they look. Tiger baseball later this afternoon. I love the general conversations about what goes on in a transaction too, Mike, and just keeping it personal. You know, transactions take 30 to 35 days. Some of them are closing 18 to 25 days. Again, the borrowers that are out there and very organized and get in front of this. And they're not chasing their mortgage. They're not chasing housing. They got great real estate agents. So when that listing pops up, Mike Sher, you're able to immediately call them. Mike, I didn't even know with the DocuSigns, most of the agents nowadays, you got to get your offer in there. So one of the things is you're reaching out and you're trying to build that relationship and rapport to find out what that seller needs so that you can make your offer accordingly. And maybe you guys, again, sometimes someone needs to stay there. You mentioned it before. They don't want to just fork over their house to anyone to wreck it because they live there and they raise their family. But maybe they need 60, 90 days. Maybe there's some other alternative out there that they need.
Listen, I think it's very important for you to know what the seller wants. It's all about what they want. You know, listen, my dog might be thirsty, wants water. My dog might want to be, my dog's hungry, wants some food. My dog wants to go for a walk, wants to walk. What do you want? What does the seller want? You go and you talk to the listing and you say, what does the seller want? What makes them happy? What are they looking for out of this? And of course, money is always number one, but really it's not always number one. No, listen, I don't work for money. I work for a certain joy for what I do. So consequently, people don't always sell for money. There's a certain reason why they're selling. And if you can connect with those people, maybe they went to the same high school that you went to. Maybe they went to the same college you went to. Whatever it is, find that connection, that triangle of trust. You went to Western, I went to Western. Hey, you know what? If I had to choose between two people and all things being equal, I'd rather go with the person who went to Western Michigan because I went to Western Michigan. Find that triangle of trust. Find that reason. And it makes a big difference.
This guy's talking our language here, the art of compromise. And, sometimes it just takes one little thing to break the tiebreaker, and that could be it.
Yeah, Harvey, in this day and age, Harvey, and Mike knows this better than anybody. He's in the trenches. We're in the trenches. Sellers don't want to move out right away. They don't have any place to go right away. It might be 30, 45, 60 days. So if the buyer comes in and allows them to stay there, how about this? Rent free for 30 or 60 days. That might be the offer that wins that transaction, because where am I going as a seller? Now I have a buyer that's going to give me my price and let me stay there without paying any rent. And I can take my time. I can pack up and I can go ahead and move at my leisure. Are you kidding me? What's a better situation than that if that's what the seller wants, correct?
Listen, I think an important thing is, when did compromise become a dirty word? I don't know if it's a political thing with Democrats, Republicans fighting all the time. Compromise is great because you know what? If there's something that's not that important to you, but important to them, then they're going to give you what's important to you. And again, we're talking about boulders, not pebbles. If they want to stay longer and you're living in mom and dad's house, who cares? Let them stay longer. If they really fall in love with a rose bush in the backyard, and that's a really important thing for them, you know what? Even if they don't ask for it, if they talk about the rose bush, you know what? If you want, why don't you take the rose bush? Why don't you take this? Find the reasons of what's important to them. And all of a sudden, you create a win-win. And when there's a win-win, everyone wins.
I did have those clients who had to come back and dig up the perennials. It's written on the addendum that we're going to come back in the springtime. They dug up the perennials. I just wish they would have been more forthcoming about the door not working, the side garage door not working, and some other things. We'll get in another show. 248-539-9797. A little hardcore mortgage real estate business talk. Harry, I said maybe after Labor Day, we're going to really dive in there and get a little more hardcore with this and give you guys the super secrets there to getting your house offer accepted. Because boy, you not only better have that mortgage ready to go, you better have a real estate agent like you, Mike, who's ready to do these compromises and call the listing agent and have that great conversation and stuff. And by the way, I took one recently, Harvey, how fast can you get the deal done? It was down in Florida. I said, typically 30, 35 days. There's a condominium. They've got to turn around some important documents to us. As soon as we took the deal, then the next call from the realtor was, Mike, how fast can you get the appraisal done? Well, Mike, I didn't even need an appraisal. So now I'm 7 or 10 days after that conversation, there's an inspection problem. Now they compromised and worked that out. Again, what happened to be like someone trying to jam our throat down 30 days. Now people are stepping back a little bit. Things have to be done the right way.
And listen, you got to be sensitive to everyone in the transaction. It really means everyone's got feelings, everyone's got family, everything that's going on. So consequently, You don't have to be mean. You don't have to be rushing. You don't have to push people. Say, hey, golly geez, you know what? Can you really push this along? That's a lot different than say, hey, Harvey, I want this closed in 3 days. I mean, you gotta
we all want them closed in 3 days.
We all want them closed in 3 days. But I think it's important for you to go in and to treat everyone with a little respect, a little consideration. You don't have to be mean to win.
No, not at all. And that's a great stuff. Mike, you sure never listened to the show before? We're going to have you back on for sure. 248-539-9797. Mike Sher joins us, Max Broock Realty, talking negotiation. They only give us an hour. We talk a little quick here on the show. So if you have any questions, again, reach out to us at Capital Mortgage Funding all week long at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We'll get you hooked up with Mike Sher. He's at MikeRealtor.com. That's an easy one. If you want to ask Mike a question, you want to have him come by and take a look at your house. That's the idea, Mike. Having a professional agent, there's no hooks into them. They can call you up. You'll go out there and really give them some good advice on a house. They're going to be looking at moving next year. They might be asking these tough questions right now, Mike, even on the buyer side. Are we in a little bit of a crazy bubble, or is it just the hot houses with prices of materials up? The families know now when they know the kitchen's redone, they're willing to overpay $30,000 for it.
So I'll tell you, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. So I cheated, so I got a little information before we got in the air. In Oakland County, there was in 2005, the average sale price was $170,000.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. Now the average sale price is $270,000. All of Oakland County. Remember,
okay, all of it.
All of it. So we're talking about 50%. 50% over 15 years. I don't know, was that 3% per year? It's not that. This is not ginormous appreciation that we're dealing with. And I'll tell you, you know what? A loaf of bread in 2005 was about $3 now, or sorry, $2.75. Now it's about $4. Does that mean that the bread's a bubble? No, things go up. Things go up, and they don't. And that's the natural thing. Now, where people get all concerned is the devalue, that situation in 2009, 2010, where houses were for $100,000. But that means they were undervalued. That was just because they're market price does not mean that they're valued correctly. It was undervalued. $100,000. Right. So consequently, you have to kind of look at that. Listen, my father-in-law bought Ford stock at $4 a share and sold it for $16 a share. It wasn't that Ford was worth $4 a share. He bought undervalued. So don't go and don't get upset at sellers when they go and buy a house for 2010 and they're going to make $100,000 because they had the ability, the willingness, the guts to go in and buy when everyone else was selling.
Harry, a lot of our families just hung in there, right? Your value went down. A lot of families just hung in there. They didn't know where to go. That was their home.
Well, interestingly enough, Mike, in 1966, mortgage rates for a 15-year fix were at 4.25%. Here we are sitting in 2021, and on a 15-year fix, 2.3%. Okay, so some things have stayed low, but they're not going to stay low forever. So when people go ahead and we go ahead and quote a rate, and they're arguing about 2.5%, 2.75% on a 15-year fix, what are you waiting for? Also, there are people that need to refinance. Rates aren't going to stay this low forever. Just subsequent to house prices being up, rates are really low. That's why the market, the price of houses is higher, because people can afford more house because rates are so low. So things don't stay low forever. Things don't stay high forever. It's a balancing of the market. It is like the stock market. Things are traded on Wall Street every day. They go up and they go down, but there's no time to act than now. You got to take a look at it, but you have to be smart about it.
If you have done a modification recently, definitely call Capital Mortgage Funding. I got a lot of clients been recently reaching
out. Honey, I need you to get the dog.
Took your mortgage from maybe a 30-year and you got a few years into it back to a 40-year. And you don't want that. You want to really start building the equity. And again, when we do this, we do a consolidation. Sometimes we're paying off a first and a second from a modified client. And then we drop them down to a 20 or 15 years. The numbers are magical. Check out your amortization charts. Call true professionals like a Capital Mortgage Fund. There's a lot of great mortgage people out there, but you're going to find most of them at Capital Mortgage Funding. 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We'll run the numbers for you. There's never an obligation. And that's what's very important. Again, build that knowledge bank. Take a look at some amortization charts. See how you can save some money on your mortgage. A little bit more housekeeping. First-time home buyers, the MSHDA program. Here we are in Michigan. Michigan Housing State Development Authority offers $7,500 for many zip codes, but $10,000 And we have about 230 zip codes across the state of Michigan that will offer you $10,000 down payment assistance, maximum loan amount, $224 purchase price. And again, you're looking at just putting a 1% down out of your pocket. Michigan is a great program for a lot of families out there listening, trying to become homeowners. Also, FHA, VA, USDA, we do it all at Capital. So give us a call. All right, that took us to the next break. When we come back, I want to hear from you. 248-539-9797. We'll be back.
Hi, Harry Glantz and Dan Burke from Capital Mortgage Funding. Over 30 years in the mortgage banking industry, hundreds of thousands of families served. Let us serve you. Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker.
Great Mike Sher's with us, Max Broock Realty. You got to tune to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We take all your calls, 248-539-9797. I'm Harvey Freed. Harry Glantz joins us on the Zoomcast. He's got his pooch behind him. So I can see that. Again, I reached out there to the Michigan buyers, a great way to buy a house. But also you got you got conventional loans at 3%. Here, I'm going to go into this before Mike goes into his bit. We're going to get a change every year from 2006 to 2016. The conforming loan limits, CLL, never changed. Well, then last year, boy, they keep going up years and years. Right now, the conforming loan limit, 548,250. Here, they're talking about the way the data is coming in. This could go all the way up to 622,000, making FHA loan limits up to 417,000. So many opportunities out there for families to save money on their mortgages.
Yeah, well, Harvey and I are going to mortgage nerd out on everybody right now. When we talk about a conforming loan limit, that means that loans that we could sell into Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. We do our own underwriting. We do it in-house. We have for years. But these are things that we have total control over. As soon as you get outside of that limit, it goes into a private investor pool on a secondary market. My dog's reminding me of that. And it's just a situation where, you know, the housing prices are adjusted every year on conforming loan limits. So it goes by the sales. But Harvey, not to nerd out too bad, if the price of houses keeps going up, then the amount of loans that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are going to buy, they have to go up as well. So they have to keep raising that loan number or the amount. But also, Harvey, talk about in certain areas, the number is actually a lot higher. It's a lot higher in certain areas of the country, and even in Washington County, right?
Yeah, Harry, they'll add another 50% off the 548,250. Add that. That's the high conforming loan limit. And we do loans in California and all across the United States, all 50 states. Mike, Sher, let's talk about those buyers getting prepared. We see it all the time. It starts with the first phone call. Give us a little bit of your insight on it.
Well, first, I have a question for both of you guys. And
good.
If every buyer met with you a month or 6 months before they purchased, would there be a difference in the transaction that they had? Would they be able to be in a position? You're talking about FHA, VA, Michigan. When you go and lock into a house, you don't have time to explore those things. So tell me, would you think if every buyer met with you a month or 2 months before, would it make a big difference?
Yeah, that's it. You know, planning and preparation is the key to success. Okay, you know what it prevents. Okay, it prevents meltdowns, prevents everything last minute situations. Well, since we underwrite in-house, we can give a bona fide pre-approval letter. So we have people out on the streets right now that have been shopping for a home for the last 2 years. So when the time comes, they're ready to pull the trigger. We don't have those last minute disasters. So Mike, to answer your question is, we have to meet with them before. Okay, we have to meet with them before, either in person, via phone, text, or Zoom. That's what we do. Or, as Harvey likes to say, we'll go to your local coffee shop and sit down with them. Wherever they want to meet is where we're going. But we do absolutely everything up front. It's all done up front. We don't play catch up. And that's the difference between working with somebody experienced and not experienced.
So the big thing is this: you know, when you go to war, you have basic training. You don't go right out to the battlefield. Buying a house is going to war a little bit. So you need basic training. You need to spend a month or 6 weeks talking to a lender, talking to your realtor, talking to those people, because you want to be prepared. And when you're prepared, I don't believe in luck. There is no luck. It is a matter of luck is when preparation meets opportunity. That's all luck is.
Hey, you know what, guys? I love this conversation. Let's keep going here. I'm going to get Fred on from Plymouth. We got a call coming in, 248-539-9797 here live on 97.1 The Ticket. Fred, thanks for calling us. What happened? Hi there. Oh, hey, Fred, say that again. Well, your mortgage didn't show you down. You got a mortgage, you're rolling, the pandemic hits. What happens to you? Did you have a job loss or something where you decided that you were going to do the forbearance? Go ahead with it. Okay. Well, yep. Yeah, it does. Hey, Harry, they added back on the payments that weren't made, and then they added the years to make it more affordable for them. Harry, give me some insight on that modification.
Yeah, they're not charging you more. What they did was they took the balance that you owed because you weren't making payments during that time. Okay, so then they added that onto the back end, and you were fortunate because then they added more years in order to go and pay it back. I mean, if they did you a favor, you didn't make payments for God knows how long, and now they added on to the back end. So, I'm not buying that. This is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. We give it to you hardcore. They extended out. You weren't making payments.
Well, Fred, go ahead. I'll let you answer that. Yeah. One other
what was
thing.
the Harvey? What was the monthly
taxes.
payment, Fred? What was the monthly payment that you say?
Yeah. Fred, you got that. Your monthly payment was probably about $900 that you weren't making each month, right? Well, 900 times how many months? There you go. There's 9,000, and then you throw in your escrow account money. They had to pay the summer and winter tax bills. Fred, I'm going to call you off the air just to see if I can get you out of that mess. Again, I mentioned it earlier in the show. I got a lot of clients calling and a lot of great listeners out there. We can help many families out there. Thanks for the call, Fred. Many families out there. This is where we're going with this. So I really think that call, Fred. They got modified. They need some light shed on this. They don't know what happened. Did they do me a favor? Well, they did, but usually we got to get you out of that. Because, Harry, you can't stretch out a mortgage that long. Here's a guy who's got only $80,000 left. I don't know. I can't tell how old he is, but he's somewhere around my age. And that means we want to get the house paid off one day. Fred, I'll follow up with that. Again, you call on the show, 248-539-9797. We'll call you back. We got your number, and we'll make things right for you. And, Mike, that's what we do. Again, I can't help everyone, but I can definitely shine some light on some things. We talk about that. Education, giving everyone the knowledge. Boy, I love when people know what they're doing.
I mean, I'll tell you a thing. In 2007, 2008, 9, people were like getting kicked out of their houses. I know. Listen, man, I feel bad for the caller, but I'll tell you on this other side, he didn't have to get thrown in the house. They immediately went in, tried to give a loan modification. They tried to figure out a way to keep you in the house. And you know what? If you look at it that way, it's making lemonade out of lemons. I mean, that's what the mortgage companies should be doing, and that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, we say bad things happen to good people. We had job loss there. I mean, people are losing their jobs. I don't know what happened. The economy totally tanked. You can point directions to a lot of different things were going on. And again, it did point to the direction that some overzealous appraisers, some overzealous lending back in the early 2000s led to all that. But these times are different a little bit now. We see we see it on our end. Lending isn't like it was. Again, we never went in the trenches and did those muddy loans, but we got people mortgages. They kept their house. We start families off with the loan that fits their needs. Sometimes it's an FHA loan. And then as their situation credit improves, they can go into a conventional loan and really set themselves up.
We have to take a look at it. Maybe those things are a 2 or 3 step process. We'll put you into a situation where you can get into the house and then go ahead and then take a look at it. And you make 12 payments. We'll look at a situation where we can refinance you out of it. So we've always been able to put people and set them up for success. Never did subprime loans. We did not do that. That was a recipe for disaster as that whole market it failed. But you got to be able to live up to your obligation. And your obligation is when you take out a mortgage, the obligation it's called a promissory note. I promise to pay back every month this payment for X amount of months. So we'll set you up for success, and we'll help you save money too. Not a lot of fees, not a lot of costs. So we'll set you up for success.
So I think the big thing that we talk about appraisals, you got to remember, appraisers appraise to the middle of the class. They appraise to the middle of the neighborhood. So if you have a house that has a new kitchen, new bathrooms, new all this stuff, you're not going to get an appraisal that's going to come in that's going to reflect what is the appraised value. But does that mean you shouldn't buy it? No, that means this, because if you're going to buy the house without the new kitchen, without the new bathrooms, without the new roof, you're going to buy it and you're going to have to spend way more money, way above what it would be if you would just go and decide to spend extra $10,000 on the appraisal.
That takes a quality real estate agents really having that plan together to understand that when you look at the house, look, I'll spend 30 grand over. It's got the finished basement. It's, it doesn't show up on an appraisal. It's got the brand new quartz countertops and the cabinets and the shaker cabinet, all that good stuff, right? That costs money, folks. And are you willing to spend a little bit more to get yourself set up, for the right situation in housing? 248-539-9797. You want to sneak a call in? I had something to talk about. And how did I lose that? Oh, here's where it is. Mike, pools today. Are you kidding me? You live on a lake or a pool. It's 1,000 degrees outside. There's no doubt back in the day, we used to look and frown upon pools. Not anymore, Mike.
So I'll tell you, I have a couple clients where they did not have pools. So they did have pools. And I told them like 3 or 4 years ago, this is what the price would be. And then all of a sudden it's time for them to sell and say, well, you know what? All of a sudden I get to pools are so hot right now. You can't get someone to go in and open enclosure pool, because the pool people are making pools and they're building pools, and they're like $100,000 to put a pool in, when you can buy a house with a pool. Maybe I'll spend an extra $30,000.
There you go. You got something there. It went from, only 10 years ago, you bought your pool, you're thinking about filling it in, you fixed it up, and you did the right thing, because on a 1,000-degree daylight today, I mean, forget about what it might be worth when you sell it, but definitely jumping in there. That ain't a bad deal. Harry, last thoughts. We're wrapping up.
Hey, great show, great energy. Mike, thank you for coming in. Everybody out there, enjoy the weekend. It's going to be hot and sticky. It's still a seller's market out there, everybody.
All right, next show, Mike, we're going to talk about your marathon running here. This guy's getting ready for the Detroit Free Press Marathon coming up. We'll promote you in that. We'll get you back on. Great stuff, Mike Sher. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, another version of the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Keep it here on 97.1. We got Pat Caputo coming up with sports, social commentary. See you next Saturday.